First 49ers update of the week here from the team facility where Deommodore Lenoir is now officially under that new contract. It is signed, sealed, and delivered. I was just in that locker room. Demo was bouncing around. He was very, very excited, as you would expect. He spoke to the media as well, and he said that he burst into tears yesterday when he realized that he could change his family's life with the generational money that is coming on this new deal. Initial reports were $92 million over 5 years. I think that the final numbers might be a little bit different than that, but you get the point. Deommodore Lenoir is being handsomely rewarded for the improvement that he's shown over the years. John Lynch just released a statement. He said, Demo epitomizes what the 49ers are all about. He has a passion for the game of football that burns bright. His versatility, toughness, and unique skill set are what we covet in our players. He has improved every year he has been with our team, and we're proud to have extended him so that we can continue to do great things together. That sums it up. Lenoir was out on the practice field as well for the 49ers. Today were in more of a maintenance mode, and I expect that to persist throughout the rest of the regular season. That's just how things work for any football team, especially one with some veteran players. 49ers are decently healthy, but Nick Bosa is dealing with a hip issue, the hip pointer that he suffered exactly a week ago out on the practice field. He wasn't out there for San Francisco today. Trent Williams, ankle issue and also wrist issue for Trent. He wasn't out there today, although he normally takes vet days on Wednesday. George Kittle, we knew about the hamstring injury coming out of the game. He also didn't practice, but Kyle Shanahan actually expects him to be back out there tomorrow. The reason I call it maintenance day is based on what I'm gathering. Bosa, Williams, and George Kittle should all play for the 49ers on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks, where the 49ers are favored by a touchdown. Speaking of maintenance, Christian McCaffrey continues to do that. He came out of the game on Sunday in Tampa with no setbacks. That obviously was his return from the Achilles injury. Christian McCaffrey was out on the practice field today as a limited participant, but he did look good, looked springy in his step during warm-ups out on the practice field. He and John Feliciano both technically listed as limited participants because Feliciano has to be, as he's coming off of injured reserve, still on injured reserve with the practice window open for San Francisco. So that's the injury situation as far as players who are out or limited. On top of that, also I should mention Kevin Givens still out for the 49ers. I saw him sprinting last week off on the side, and Kyle Shanahan said that this week it looked good for a potential Kevin Givens return. Groin injury did not happen yet for the 49ers defensive tackle. Chris Conley, though, he was back out of practice after missing last week's game with a hamstring injury. 49ers, significant favorites over the Seattle Seahawks. We're talking 6.5, 7-point favorites. Seattle, though, is coming off of a bye week, and the 49ers have the worst net rest differential in the entire football league. That means they have to play a ton of teams, 4 in total, who are coming off their byes this season, and that's tough for San Francisco. So Seattle will have that advantage, but when you look at the DVOA rankings, the 49ers, top 5, both offense and defense. I know that the special teams has been rough. They did just make another move there. I'll talk about that in a second. Special teams down at number 31. With Seattle, you've got 15 on offense, number 15 on defense, and then the special teams is a little bit better. They're number 21 on special teams. And that's kind of how the game played out in Seattle when we saw these two teams play last month. 49ers, I think, were decisively better on offense and defense, but the Laviska Shenault kick return for a touchdown kept that game closer for a little bit longer than it had to be close, and the 49ers sweated through it, but they made it through. Charvarius Ward remains away from the team. Bereavement leave. His 1-year-old daughter, Amani Joy, passed away over a week ago at this point, but the 49ers do expect him back sooner rather than later. That's what he told Kyle Shanahan, and San Francisco is not pushing for Charvarius Ward to return at any specific time, but they do believe, based on what he has said, that he'll be ready to be back here in the team facility. In fact, Charvarius Ward spoke with Deommodore Lenoir on the phone yesterday after Lenoir finished his contract with the 49ers. Ward is no longer the 49ers' highest paid cornerback. He's at $13.5 million per year, and we expect Lenoir to come in at probably around 18 million a year. 18.4 was the number yesterday, but we, of course, do need to see the final number once those become available today. I mentioned the move that the 49ers made at punter because Mitch Wishnowsky is dealing with the back issue that's actually been afflicting him all year, but he's been managing it all year, just flared up, though, even worse. The 49ers might have to use the new punter that they just signed, and that is Pat O'Donnell, formerly of the Bears, the Green Bay Packers, and the Atlanta Falcons. O'Donnell is somebody who's a good holder. Kyle Shanahan emphasized that today, field goal kick holder. And of course, that's really important because Jake Moody really struggled the last game, coming off the high ankle sprain. The holder that he's used to working with is Mitch Wishnowsky. That's just how it works in the NFL because the specialists have all that time together during practice to perfect the operation. So if Wishnowsky's unable to go because of the back injury, as appears that it might be the case, the 49ers really needed a punter who can hold effectively and seamlessly fill in a very, very important week for Jake Moody. And I think they believe that Pat O'Donnell is that guy. I mentioned earlier, too, Pat O'Donnell has played for Chicago. He's played for Green Bay. This might be a rain game for the 49ers. The weather isn't great outside right now. On Sunday, last I checked, there was like a 30 or 40% chance of rain. Even if the weather is good on Sunday, though, fast forward to games at Green Bay and a game at Buffalo after that. Those two contests straddling the switch from November to December. So typical cold weather environments at a time of the year where weather could start getting sketchy. When you're talking about your specialists, you've got to think of that. And the fact that Pat O'Donnell has experience punting in both Chicago and Green Bay, I think comes in handy for the 49ers at this time of the year. Tim Kawakami mentioned this yesterday, and I was reminded of it because I saw Dre Greenlaw in the locker room. His practice window is not yet opened, although he has been sprinting for the 49ers on the field. When you look at what's coming up, when we mentioned Seattle, Green Bay, and then Buffalo, that game in Buffalo against the Bills is the 49ers' last regular season game of the year on artificial turf. Everything else, from 2 home games against the Bears and then the Rams to a Christmas game or game right before Christmas on the road against the Dolphins to a game at home against the Ravens and then a game in Arizona, everything else in this regular season will be played on natural grass, which data shows is safer. So when we talk about Dre Greenlaw's potential return, I think that we can maybe deduce that a good time for that to happen might be right after the Buffalo game. That would be against the Chicago Bears. I think December 8th here at Levi Stadium on natural grass would be the date. So by working backwards from that date, you can open up Dre Greenlaw's practice window 3 weeks prior to December 8th. So I'm going to do the math here on the fly. I have my screen right in front of me. December 8th versus the Bears. December 1st would be a week. November 24th would be 2 weeks. And November 17th would be 3 weeks. So maybe next week we see Dre Greenlaw's practice window open. That's just my speculation. That's the way that I'm looking at this, and perhaps it makes most sense for the 49ers to do it that way. By the way, they're really happy with Devondre Campbell. They say his past 2 games have been his best 2 games so far this season for the 49ers. More on Deommodore Lenoir and company coming soon, including some funny stuff from the press conferences. But wanted to give you the rundown here from practice as the 49ers see their young cornerback who has matured with these teams in 2021 get his money. They see him back out on the practice field, and they maintain some of these injuries as they prepare for the Seahawks.